Welcome. oh,
There we go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Rewrite Your Money Story Bootcamp. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ingrid, and along with Keith Kunen, I'm one of your prosperity guides throughout this training. So before Hayley takes us through today's lesson, I'll just run through some housekeeping. So we will be recording the daily training sessions, and the replays will be posted on our Facebook group until Friday, midnight Eastern time. So we'd love it if those of you live would keep your cameras on so we can see you and connect, and it's like we're in the room together, so that's really nice. At the end of the session, you'll be given an assignment, which you'll find in the guide section of our Facebook page. So I highly recommend that you do the assignment because taking action really embeds the learning and starts to shift the old story. So feel free to post any questions you have right here in the chat and connect with each other in the Facebook group. And really, we can get some nice conversations going. So now I will hand over to Hayley for today's session, and let's understand your money story so you can unlock your innate abundance. Over to you, Hayley.
Thanks, Ingrid. Welcome, everyone. Whether you're joining us live or on the replay, we're so happy that you are here with us for the week and for these important lessons around understanding, your money story and how we can help you rewrite that if that is a goal of yours. I want to start by reading you a little excerpt from one of my favorite books, U Squared, which was written by Dr. Price Pritchett. And this was one of Bob Proctor's favorite stories as well. And I just think it sets us up really nicely for having a conversation around financial health. So the author starts by saying that this is a true story. He said, "I'm sitting in a quiet room at the Millcroft Inn, a peaceful little place hidden back among the pine trees about an hour out of Toronto. It's just past noon, late July, and I'm listening to the desperate sounds of a life or death struggle going on a few feet away. There's a small fly burning out the last of its short life's energies in a futile attempt to fly through the glass of the window pane. The whining wings tell the poignant story of the fly's strategy: try harder. But it's not working. The frenzied effort offers no hope for survival. Ironically, the struggle is part of the trap. It is impossible for the fly to try hard enough to succeed at breaking through the glass. Nevertheless, this little insect has staked its life on reaching its goal through raw effort and determination. This fly is doomed. It will die there on the windowsill. Across the room, 10 steps away, the door is open. 10 seconds of flying time, and this small creature could reach the outside world it seeks. With only a fraction of the effort now being wasted, it could be free of this self-imposed trap. The breakthrough possibility is there. It would be so easy. Why doesn't the fly try another approach, something dramatically different? How did it get so locked in on the idea that this particular route and determined effort offer the most promise for success? What logic is there in continuing until death to seek a breakthrough with more of the same? No doubt this approach makes sense to the fly. Regrettably, it's an idea that will kill. Trying harder isn't necessarily the solution to achieving more. It may not offer any real promise for getting what you want out of life. Sometimes, in fact, it's a big part of the problem. If you stake your hopes for a breakthrough on trying harder than ever, you may kill your chances for success." So I don't know about you guys, but that is how I can very much relate to it, because I was raised in a way where I was taught that the harder you work, the more successful you can be. Okay, the more freedom that you can create. but that's not actually true. It doesn't have to be that way. And if you're getting the same results year in and year out, and the results, kind of for the most part stay the same, I would encourage you, and that's what I'm going to, challenge you with this week, is to try a different approach. Okay, and it all starts with the thoughts that we think and the ideas that are, a part of our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Okay, it's all tied together in terms of our programming. So I wanted to start with that. And, just for those of you that may not know me, I'm Haley Carlson. My backstory is that I was, in corporate America for over 20 years. I started on Wall Street in New York, and then I spent the majority of my time, though, in the media and entertainment sector, leading large teams across the country in revenue generating positions. I climbed that corporate ladder, and I had what success was, I thought, was supposed to look like on the outside, but on the inside, there was a different story going on. And you may have already read my bio, but it was a totally different story that was going on the inside. And that's what I find when I work with my clients, is that what is happening on the outside is often very different than what is going on internally. So I experienced a lot of turnover, stress, burnout, not just of myself as I was creating success on the outside, but it was also of the teams that I managed, and the C-level executives that I worked for, and so it just didn't, something wasn't adding up, and I knew that it didn't matter, like the higher I went in any organization, the story very much was the same, which was a lot of, like I said, stress, turnover, burnout. And so I was determined that there had to be a different way. And I had always heard, I remember hearing Dr. Wayne Dyer. He was probably one of the very first personal development leaders that I started following. He always said that, just do what you love and the rest will follow. Do what you love, what's in your heart, what you're passionate about, and how you're going to make money at that, how you're going to, work that into your life. It'll unfold for you when you're following your heart's desire. And so I had always been passionate about health and wellness from a very young age. And I decided that that's what I wanted to follow. I wanted to do really the complete opposite of what I was experiencing in my professional life and in my personal life. And so it just started with this one idea to create change. Okay. And that, as Bob always said, that it only takes one idea to change the course of your life. And that was the one idea, that I was determined. My money story was that no matter how well I did, I was always struggling to make ends meet at the end of the month, like always struggling. Okay. And so I knew that, it wasn't about the next promotion, or I knew it wasn't about the next raise, or the next title, or the next, company that I worked for, because my financial situation, my financial health always stayed the same. Okay. And I was determined, like I really wanted to create financial freedom. That was my very first goal, which is why I love that we're starting off with this, because financial freedom, like when you have true financial freedom, it is so freeing when you don't have to worry about, you're not worrying about money anymore. You have so much mental space that's cleared up when you don't have to worry about that. Okay. And so, my story, how I was programmed from a very young age is, you just hear things like, or I heard things like, it could be as simple as money doesn't grow on trees, or it's like, taking money and throwing it out the window, like it would be, wasteful. I remember my friend group growing up, they did well and they were affluent. And, I was told things like, well, you'll never be able to run with them, and when you're that young and you're taking this in, it goes directly into your subconscious mind. And we'll get more into the mind in the coming days, and how the mind is wired and programmed from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. But all of that information, it just goes right in. Okay, so what I want to encourage you to do, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this week, but it is important. In order to get different results, you have to know where you're at right now. Okay, so if you're struggling, in any area, if finances are, an issue, or continue to be, it's kind of like your story throughout your life, you really want to take a look at, where did that programming come from? And so we're going to give you an assignment today so that you can rid yourself of that past programming. But it is important, in order to go somewhere new that you haven't been before, in any area of your life, but especially as it relates to financial health. You have to know where you're at right now, and you have to be really honest with yourself. Okay, you have to be really honest with yourself with where you're at, and it's okay. You want to come from a neutral perspective, and don't be hard on yourself. So if the money's not in the bank account, or you're not where you want to be, that's okay. The first step is to acknowledge it. Okay, and just acknowledge it. Don't be hard on yourself, just observe it. And then we're going to work this week on different steps you can take to rid yourself of the stories and create a new story. Okay, a healthier story, one that is aligned with your highest self. Because we all deserve, if you think of it like this, if you have the idea, the fact that you even have the idea that you want to create financial freedom, or you want to rewrite your money story, the fact that you have that idea means that you can accomplish it. Okay, because it's here for you, you can have it. All right, so if you just accept that idea, what happens is we have these ideas, and then we want to, we have an idea that we want to achieve more or accomplish more, but then all of the programming comes in and tells us all the reasons why we can't be, do, or have what is in alignment with that idea. Okay, so be very honest with yourself first and foremost, and then we'll take you through this process to help you rewrite that. Okay, so I want you to, and think of it like this, everything is energy, right? Everything in the universe is energy. And money is just energy as well. It is just another form of energy. It vibrates at, the speed that it does, because it was made into money. But at one point it was vibrating at a different speed when it was, wood. And so I find that we put so much emphasis on money itself, but money is just energy. Okay, and we're always attracting what we're in harmony with. So if you're looking to rewrite any part of your story, take an honest look at how you feel. Like, what is your relationship with money? Okay, if money were a person, how would you describe it? And those are two really good questions. Like what is your relationship to money? Is there always just enough? Is there never enough? Or is there always more than enough? Okay, like, what is that story in you? And then, if money were a person, again, a really great question. Like, how would you describe that? When I did this exercise a few years ago, it was, I really had to rework my relationship with money. And because I had these limiting beliefs of, that I wasn't worthy enough, I wasn't good enough. Honestly, they're just stories that we've been raised with, that have been programmed, that are creating the results that we're getting. But if money were a person, you can borrow this one from me if you want. I created a new belief that if money were a person, that they're my loyal friend. Money is my loyal friend. So that is a relationship. Okay, so what we're going to have you do, and Keith is going to come on at the end here and really, help go through the assignment. But what I want you to do for today is I want you to get a pen and paper out, and I want you to write down all of those limiting beliefs around money. Okay, what is that story? What is your money story? It can be a list, it could be a script, it could be it's whatever you feel compelled to write. And then what we want you to do is we want you to take that, all these old limiting beliefs, and we want you to burn it. Okay, you can put it in a sink. If you're somewhere warm, you can you can burn it outside. Be safe about it. But I want you to burn those. Okay, because does that mean that they're gone forever? No, not necessarily. But it's symbolic. Okay, and that's the first step. In order to get out all this old programming, we have to really get it out, right? We have to bring it out of us and then rid yourself of it. Okay, and just accept the idea that when you burn that, and if you're not comfortable with fire, you can also tear it up and dissolve it in water, put it in a bowl, flush it down the toilet. There's different ways you can use different elements to rid yourself of that story. Okay. And then what I want to do is, so it's important, like I said, to acknowledge where you're at. Don't be hard on yourself about it if your results are not where you want them. But now let's create a new story, right? Let's set a new goal. Okay. When I'm going to share my screen here. When I got started, my goal, I was fortunate that I was introduced to Bob. My first goal, like I said, was to go out and start my own health and wellness business. I didn't know what it looked like at all. I had no idea how I was going to do that. But I was fortunate that I was introduced to Bob through a friend and colleague of mine at the time, as I was, starting to go through these changes. And I was really struggling at this point. My marriage at the time was not where I wanted it to be. I had 3 kids that I was supporting on my own, and my husband at the time wasn't working, and hadn't been for a while, and so I had a lot of responsibility on my plate to provide the health insurance and pay the bills. And but I was determined that I wasn't going to live the rest of my life like that. And so my colleague at the time was in the process of becoming a consultant and a coach with Bob. And she took me through the very first program that I invested in, which is Thinking into Results, which is what I consult and coach on now. And I remember, going through the course, and I was about halfway through, and she lived in LA at the time, and she wanted me to come out for a seminar. And I had no idea how I was going to do it because I didn't have the money in the bank to fly out there, to put myself up, to pay for the seminar. But what we did was, and we're going to get into decision tomorrow, is I made the decision. She encouraged me. She said, just make the decision that you're going to be here and we'll figure it out. And so what happened was sure enough, had enough miles on Southwest to fly out there, like just enough for a plane ticket. She lived there, so I didn't have to pay for a hotel. And at the time when PGI was doing live events, they would allow for a certain amount of volunteers to come and help the event, and then you could attend the event for free. Well, they had just closed the volunteer registration, and she put in a request, like, is there any way you can make this exception? And sure enough, Gina, Bob's assistant, allowed me to come in. Like, it just literally all the stars had to align for me to attend this in person. And I remember sitting in the back of the ballroom and at the volunteer table. And when Bob put up this slide, there was something inside of me that just stirred in a different way. And he said, this is obviously a Steve Jobs quote, but for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. And that's how I felt. I knew something had to change, and it was like that next level of desire that was instilled in me. And from there, it all starts with a goal. It starts with it actually starts with like, what do you want? Okay. Some of this is going to sound familiar because this is I get this, I got this directly from Bob, but keep it really simple, you guys. Okay. So we've gotten out our old stories, right? We're done with those. Okay. But now I want you to think about, like, what is it you want? Okay. Don't get into the numbers. Don't think about the amount that you want. If it's a financial goal, just think of very high level, like, what do I want? Okay. And when I started, like I said, I wanted to create financial freedom. Okay. And so it all starts with the goal. So it starts with the want, then you take it and you move it into a goal. Okay. So now you want, the goal should be very measurable. And so if it's, let's say you want to earn, $25,000 a month, the number isn't important. It's the fact that, because the number is just a number and it's going to change once you get to that number anyway. But the goal is important because it helps you measure where you're at in your growth, in terms of where your level of awareness. Okay. So, and this is where we want to get really, really clear, because the universe will deliver. I promise you that. It'll deliver every time. So we want to get very clear on what it is that goal is, because without the clarity, it's really just a hope or a wish. Okay, so it's really important to get clear. So I love this quote by Robert Heinlein. So in the absence of a clearly defined goal, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. Okay, so when you get up in the morning, if you know that you're working towards your goal, that right there, most people don't even have a goal. So as long as you're working towards your goal, as long as you're working towards what it is that your heart desires, that burning desire, you're already successful. Okay, because you're already taking inspired action. All right. So ask yourself, okay, these are some good questions to really think about. What do you really want? What do you really, really want? It has to come from within. Don't think about what other people want for you. Don't think about what it is you think you can have. And we'll go through the different levels of goal setting in a second here. But really, just like I said, keep it very simple. What do you really want? What I've found is that most people, want to wake up every day feeling enthused about how they're going to spend their day. Like, that's fulfillment. A lot of people that I work with, they start by, they want to be free of any financial concerns, right? And so this is why it's so important to get this clarity, because again, a lot of people will say, oh, I want $1 million, or I want $10 million. Like, that's fine intellectually, because you can have whatever you want, but it has to come from within, because that attraction, that desire, is what is going to bring it to you much quicker. It's going to help you accelerate the process when it comes from within. A lot of people I hear say, I would like to enjoy relationships with people who are upbeat, enthusiastic, and creatively productive, right? We're here for our relationships as well, right? To help us create and live a more fulfilling life. So is this how you're living today? And it's fine. If you're not, you can change that. And that's what we're here to help you with. So I'm going to touch on, the different levels of goal setting, just to help provide a little more clarity. So the way that we do goal setting is there are 3 different types of goals that you can set. Okay, no goal setting is wrong, but what I focus on with my clients is what we call C-type goals. Okay, so there's these 3 different levels of goals. There's an A-type goal, and that's something that you already know how to do. Then once people set A-type goals, they generally move on to B-type goals after that, and that's what you think you can do. Okay, so an A-type goal is something you already know how to do. A B-type goal is what you think you can do. And then C-type goal, this is where you really go inside, you use your imagination, and this is what you really want, but you don't know how in the world you're going to do it. Okay, if you know the how, it's not the right goal. And the reason why is because goals, it's not about the getting. Goals, the reason why we do goal setting is because a goal is about the growth. Okay, it's about who you become in the process. Like I said, because once you hit that goal, you're already going to be on to the next goal anyway. Okay, so we've got the A-type goal, something you already know how. There's really no growth there. Then there's the B-type goals, and this is what you think you can do, right? Like if you wrote out all the steps and everything happened just so, you're like, yeah, I can probably achieve that. So again, there's nothing wrong with the B-type goals, but where we want to really help you is to create the most amount of growth possible. And that's what you're going to get that with the C-type goal. Okay, so this is where you really go within and you really ask yourself, like, what is it that I want? You know, and then you get some clarity around that, and you start moving into action. Oops. Sorry. Okay. So the last slide that I have for you is that, you know, just this, like really think about this. A goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. Okay, you want to live in this place where you're almost like, you know, if you're a little afraid to go after it because it seems so big. But that's where the growth happens. Okay, and so if you're really going to create different results and rid yourself of this old money story that is creating the results that you're getting today, we've got to get rid of those and then start with a new goal. Okay, start fresh and start going after something that really motivates you and gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning. So that's what I have for you guys today. We are going to, let me see here. I'm having a hard, here we go, stop share. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. We're going to keep these lessons very tight. What I want to encourage you to do is to go back, watch the replay, do the assignment, and join us back here tomorrow. I'm going to hand it over to Keith now, who's going to close us out.
Thank you so much, Haley. Thank you for everyone for your presence today. Really appreciate the lesson. I've learned so much today. I really love, you know, some of the keynotes that have come out of the lesson. One of the things that really stood out to me is money is my loyal friend. You know, that's such a beautiful way to look at money, because that's essentially rewriting your story and rewriting how you actually look at money. And I think a lot of us have been, you know, dealing with old, archaic, outdated stories about how we look at money. And I think, you know, when we start looking at money in a more positive and more welcoming way, it starts becoming us, right? We become it and it becomes us. And in that way, we're able to attract it. So that really touched me. So thank you for that. So in terms of just the lesson for today, the you know, the money story that we've told ourselves before, I think what we want to do is we want to write those limiting beliefs down. We want to take a piece of paper, sit down, be very calm, be very relaxed, and just observe some of those money stories that you've told yourselves before. Because I think, you know, if we're kind of erratic about it, we can be dishonest about how we've seen those stories. So we just want to sit down, be relaxed, and really just be objective about it, and let the stories come in, write them down, put them on a piece of paper, burn them in a safe space, in a safe environment. If you don't want to burn them, you can use water as an element to dissolve them. But the objective of this is really to just let them go, right? And just release them into the ether. And I think it's quite a ceremonious thing to do, because at the end of the day, it's almost like you're making a decision that today you will release this old story that you've told yourself all the time. So that's your assignment for today. You will find it in the Facebook group. We will post it again so you guys can be able to see it. Ingrid, one of our prosperity guides, will also pin it to the top of the Facebook group so you guys can have quick access to it. So guys, enjoy and hope you have a fruitful stay with us over this period. Thank you so much.